Thank you, Clive. Welcome to South Today. Coming up on the programme tonight, jail for the killer who stabbed a man in a row over a pair of trainers.
The actions of a total coward in my view, and he's given no explanation and has shown no responsibility for what he's done.
Greg Mwinami has been sentenced to a minimum of 25 years. Also tonight, testing times for learner drivers, how a lack of examiners mean people are having to travel miles to take their tests. Remembering the heroes of Shirley Towers, 13 years after the blaze which claimed their lives. And the secret life of Agatha Christie, how the best-selling crime writer lived for decades in relative obscurity in an Oxfordshire town.
In the town, she only introduced herself to people as Mrs. Mallowan. Not everybody knew that she was Agatha Christie.
Hello and a very good evening to you. I'm Jo Kent. He killed a man in an argument over a pair of trainers. Today, Greg Mwinami was jailed for a minimum of 25 years at Oxford Crown Court for the fatal stabbing of Alex Innes outside a busy cocktail bar. Brennan Nichols was in court for the sentencing.
Killed over the price of a pair of trainers. 25-year-old Alex Innes died on a night out in Oxford last year. The court heard how on the 13th of November last year, Alex Innes arrived here at the Love Jericho bar around midnight. Here already was Greg Mwinami. The two had been in an argument over a pair of trainers that Mr. Innes had sold to Mr. Mwinami. That argument continued, and Mwinami invited Mr. Innes to step away from the bar. When he did so, he was stabbed in the heart. He died shortly afterwards. As Mr. Innes was receiving medical attention, Greg Mwinami was seen walking away. He disposed of his mobile phone, the knife and the clothes he was wearing. None have ever been found. 30 minutes later, he was seen back in Oxford, carrying on his night out. He was described by the judge today and by the police as a coward.
Mr. Mwinami has given no account to the police. He gave no account in an interview. He gave no account to the court. He chose not to give evidence. And on several days throughout the trial, he refused to leave his cell and didn't turn up. The actions of a total coward in my view, and he's given no explanation and has shown no responsibility for what he's done.
There was a large police presence at Oxford Crown Court for today's sentencing. Alex's family told the court in their victim impact statements how they will be haunted forever by the evidence they've sat through and how they will be left with a torment that will never go away.
At this moment in time, I'm arresting you on suspicion of murder.
19-year-old Greg Mwinami was arrested 2 days after the attack. A jury found him guilty of murder in June and for carrying a knife. Today, he was given a life sentence and told he will serve a minimum of 25 years. As the sentence was handed down, he put his hands in his pockets, smirked and left the dock. Brennan Nichols, BBC South Today, Oxford.
And police have launched an investigation after a man was found in Southampton with a suspected stab wound to his neck this morning. Officers were called to Wyndham Place outside the city's central railway station and sealed off the area. The 34-year-old man was taken to hospital in a serious but stable condition. He's since discharged himself. Now, passing your driving test has always been something of a nerve-wracking experience. But how much more of an ordeal is it when you have to travel long distances to even get a test? Learner drivers from Reading have been booking tests as far away as Scotland in an attempt to get around backlogs at their own test centre. The agency running tests for the government says it's been hit by industrial action and an increase in demand for tests. But instructors say there's a particular problem in Reading after the number of examiners fell from 14 to just 4. Joe Campbell has the story.
The end of a testing road in Reading, and for some the good news is they've passed.
Awesome! Yeah, I'm happy.
But for many learner drivers, the verdict is the testing system has failed. The learner in this car passed his theory exam just weeks after turning 17. But when it came to booking the practical test,
I had to get up at 6 o'clock on a Monday morning to try and get a test, and I managed to get one for February, but it's in Oxford. It just adds extra complications, like having it down the road makes it so much easier because I know what I'm doing, where I'm going.
Really good lesson, wasn't it, eh?
Yeah.
it's a familiar story for his instructor, who says the 4 examiners in Reading isn't enough. While their employer, the DVSA, says it's recruiting more, the pay of around £28,000 wasn't enough to tempt her.
You can go and work in McDonald's and get paid that, and you don't have to have the stress of sitting in a car that maybe not dual controlled, and this person sat next to you and you don't know what they've done driving or anything, and you've got to deal with it. And people get violent, people get aggressive with them. It's not an easy job.
The agency also says the desire to book tests well in advance is in part to blame for what's happening. People who learn to drive here on the streets in Reading now regularly sit their tests in Basingstoke or Farnborough. And the BBC has learned of one student who was prepared to take a ferry across the Solent to take their test on the Isle of Wight. Another who travelled all the way to Widnes in Cheshire. And the most extreme case, somebody who booked their test in Glasgow in Scotland.
It's absolutely ridiculous. The cost involved and the disruption is absolutely enormous, and local people simply shouldn't have to travel that far to take a driving test.
Mel here's already forked out for trips to Winchester ahead of her eldest daughter's retest there today. But a real concern is what's happening to teenagers caught up in the system.
When I was younger, you failed your test, you booked another one. Get the momentum going, because the youngsters are learning to drive. Their confidence is going massively. I've seen it on my children and other friends who have got children. It's just really, really sad time.
The agency says it's got staff working overtime and is switching them from backroom jobs to boost the number of tests. But so far those changes seem to have had little effect. Joe Campbell, BBC South Today.
Well, let's get a bit more on this. I'm joined by our transport correspondent, Paul Clifton. Paul, how widespread is this problem?
Joe, I've taught hundreds of young people to drive through a road safety charity for teenagers called the Under 17 Car Club. So I've seen many cases of learner drivers struggling to book tests, and I've encouraged them to travel anywhere in the country to get a slot. The average wait from booking a driving test to actually taking that test is 24 weeks, according to the AA. That compares with 6 weeks before the pandemic. And the government agency which runs testing said it is taking all measures we can to reduce driving test waiting times, which includes recruiting nearly 500 new examiners. It said the waiting times have increased due to greater demand, to civil service strikes, and to students changing their booking behaviour because of the decrease in availability. So they're booking tests before they know whether they're ready to pass or not. And a number of smaller driving test centres have also closed in recent years. Now, let me give you another view. I know a young driver from Bournemouth who passed her test over the summer. Olivia took her theory test at 8 o'clock on the morning of her 17th birthday, and then immediately went looking for a driving test slot anywhere in the country. She found one in Poole, and at age 17 and 2 days, she passed first time. Now, Olivia is very much the exception, but the point is, it can still be done.
Olivia sounds like a very switched-on young lady. Thank you very much, Paul. A man's been jailed for dangerous driving after a police chase in South Oxfordshire. 39-year-old Richard Allen from Didcot failed to stop at a roadside check, and again when police later spotted the car. Officers pursued Allen into Henley town centre and eventually brought the car to a stop. Allen pleaded guilty to numerous offences. He was sentenced to 10 months in prison. They died in the line of duty, fighting a fire which ripped through a tower block in Southampton. Today, more than a decade on, a plaque has been unveiled paying tribute to the heroism of firefighters Alan Bannon and James Shears. Their families were there to see it. Bryony Leyland has the story.
A lament for two firefighters whose loss is still keenly felt 13 years on. Alan Bannon and James Shears, both of whom had young children, lost their lives fighting a ferocious blaze at Shirley Towers in Southampton in April 2010. Alan's daughter Abigail was just 5 when he died. Today she unveiled a memorial plaque honouring 2 fathers who went to work and never came home.
Having loads of people here, it just makes me feel very supported in it. It means so much that so many people cared and so many people would like to share his memory with me, and it gives me another place to remember him. It just shows me how brave he was, that he risked his life, and it's nice to remember his bravery.
I want to fulfil my calling.
Carla, James Shears' widow, was flanked by their 2 sons. Their tradition is to run the annual New Forest Half Marathon in his memory in aid of the firefighters' charity. Team Jim will do it again this weekend.
The firefighters' charity supported myself and my boys a lot in the early weeks, years, and it means an awful lot for me to be able to give something back to the charity that supported us. I remember Jim.
The tragedy at Shirley Towers went on to shape national fire safety rules and regulations. The Fire Brigades Union says that legacy is important.
The coroner issued guidance to government and to fire services about training, about equipment, and that came out of the inquest in this particular case.
Alan and James, you are loved and missed.
Those gathered were told by Hampshire's Chief Fire Officer that the men's bravery will never be forgotten, honoured today and in the years to come. Bryony Leyland, BBC South Today, Southampton.
Still to come on South Today this evening, Lewis and Alexis are down by the water.
We'll be finding out more about the Ocean Global Race here in Southampton.
And we've had 5 consecutive days of temperatures over 30 Celsius.
Now, several weeks ago, we brought you news of a group of Dorset military veterans with a range of profound disabilities who are preparing to take on the challenge of swimming the English Channel. Among the team were people with missing limbs and serious mental health issues. And their leader, Mark Bowrer, was taking on the swim despite having suffered a major stroke. Well, now they're back from their adventure, and I asked them what made the challenge such a hard one.
I had a stroke. One side of it's paralysed totally, and I can't speak, but it's getting back the speech, but it's slowly. It's hard.
And how do you find the swimming though when one half of your body is paralysed?
Well, 2 years of practice.
I mean, it must have been incredibly tough. What was the biggest challenge in the swim?
Well, one thing, the boat. It's hard to do the ladder. Sally Orange.
It was particularly difficult for Mark getting back into the boat. He was fine getting off because we could help him up the steps and then he would just jump, and his swimming was fantastic, and his little chicken wing that we spoke about last time came in.
And you mentioned chicken wing there. I mean, people at home might not understand that reference. Just to explain what you mean by that.
So you might see from the footage that Mark's got a great stroke on his left side where he can use all of that body, but on the right side there's determination and effort to get there, but we've just called it his little chicken wing.
That's great. But I mean, all of your team had challenges, didn't they? Because they're all veterans, but some have sort of mental health issues and other disabilities. So what was it like to keep the morale up in the whole team for the swim?
I think we were a really strong team, as Mark said. We'd had 2 years of training, so we'd come together and we'd built that real camaraderie between us, and I think that's something you get from the military anyway. So we, when Mark was struggling, we were able to just all chip in and help each other, whether it was a limb loss or, mental health struggles, which is what I struggle with myself.
And of course, it's all for charity. You've raised an incredible amount. How's that going to help people?
Well, it's brilliant because we've raised raised quite a lot of money, and it will help us make more Bowra bags, which is a toolkit that we provide people who've had a neurological injury. We give them this toolkit which can help them start their own rehab, and then also it will provide for days out.
And that's the Bowra Foundation that you
Yeah.
started. Well, congratulations. It's a real privilege to meet you all, and thanks for coming back and telling us all about how it went.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, an incredible effort from them all. Now from swimming to sailing, and the Ocean Globe Round the World race sets off this weekend from Southampton, taking competitors on a 27,000-mile voyage. More than 160 sailors on board 14 yachts will leave on Sunday. So, ahead of the race start, we've sent both Lewis and Alexis down to Ocean Village for us this evening to bring you tonight's sport and weather. And it looks like a lovely evening for it, guys.
Yes, we've got some hazy sunshine here, Jo, but the sailors heading out on Sunday, they'll have a 10-knot headwind from the southwest. Potential for thunderstorms and some sunshine, but maybe through the western part of the channel, some fog, Lewis.
Yeah, you're going to give us the full weather forecast later, aren't you, for that sailing event? And as well as the sun that's shining, trying to shine through the clouds, there's also this sense of anticipation about the sporting challenge that's ahead, an 8-month tour of the globe. So let's find out a bit more about that. Heather's one of the skippers of one of the crews, the maiden boat. What are you most looking forward to about this challenge, Heather?
I'm really looking forward to starting it and crossing that start line on Sunday and just really getting stuck into the racing.
This race is different to others because the boats are pre-designed 1988. So tell me what it's like, life on board the Maiden.
Yeah, so Maiden is a 58-foot boat, so it's a little bit cramped with 12 women on board, and that's only one toilet as well between us all, so you get to know each other very well. And we work on a rota of 4 hours on, 4 hours off, so you get quite sleep deprived. So it's pretty tough, and it's a really endurance kind of race, yeah.
And your team in particular has a lot of heritage with this race. Take me back to 1990, those images of Tracy Edwards coming home second here in Southampton.
Yeah, so Tracy was the first skipper of a first all-female crew to sail around the world in a race, and they came second overall. So we're extremely proud to be carrying on that legacy.
It'd be good to have another champagne moment. Let's bring in another local sailor. India's part of the Spirit of Adelaide crew, but a navigator, but from the New Forest. How did you get involved in this?
Yeah, so I'm a newly qualified deck officer, so I've spent many hours practicing celestial navigation, studying celestial navigation and meteorology, as well as all things maritime industry, maritime world. So really this race brings that element, and that's the challenge for us doing this.
Yeah, because there's no GPS, no satellites, no computers. No. So yeah, these boats, they still go some pace though, don't they?
Yeah. So our boat actually was built for the 89 Whitbread race. So she's an old boat. She is old, but she's a great boat, and we're very much prepared for the race. Yeah.
You leave here on Sunday at 1 o'clock. Tell me about.
It's in Cape Town, so it's about 6,500 miles to Cape Town. Then we've got to Auckland, then it's Auckland to Punta del Este, round Cape Horn, which is cool, and then back across the Atlantic to finish in Southampton.
That'll be some scene in April. And so let's bring in Tim. Tim, you're part of the organisers that brought this event to Southampton. It's been in France recently. How big a deal was it for Southampton to host this?
Oh, it's massive. And look, Southampton has a really big maritime history. So when we found out that it was in France, we did an awful lot of work to make sure we could bring it back to Southampton. But the honesty is the fact that you've got people that inspire the next generations, like Heather in India. Just how great is that? It's fantastic to have it here.
And is the hope that we can see this again in future years? Obviously, it's the 50th anniversary of the original Whitbread, but do you hope to bring it back?
Yeah, quite possibly. So it's 50 years for the Whitbread and it's 50 years for MDL Marinas, and that's why we've worked so hard to make sure we could get it back here. So yeah, who knows? But yeah, with a bit of luck.
There's certainly a good atmosphere. I'm guessing for all of you, it's probably a bit more wind needed for Sunday. Is that what we're looking at?
Would be nice. Would be nice for a little bit more wind, yeah.
Sailors always need a bit more wind. We'll have the full forecast of Alexis. Good luck for the race and good luck for the hosting. It's a fantastic event. Brilliant. Let's quick look at the rest of today's sports news then. It's also a big night for rugby fans. The host France kicking off the World Cup this evening against New Zealand. Then England actually will start against Argentina tomorrow night. Winchester's Joe Marchant is starting at centre with former Brighton College student Marcus Smith, and Sussex-based Joe Marler starting on the bench for Steve Borthwick's side. And at the World Championships in the rowing, the British squad have made a great start over in Serbia. 6 boats, including the men. And the women's 4 and the quadruple sculls have already guaranteed their place at the Paris Olympics next year. The medal races this weekend will be streamed live on the Red Button and on BBC Two. So back here to the sporting side of this, it all starts Sunday, 1 o'clock, 27,000 miles. They take in 4 legs and they go across all of the 3 Great Capes and the Southern Ocean, of course. And the hope, all being well, is that those boats will return here in Southampton in April and we'll have great scenes of celebration. What do you think about that, Alexis? Fancy that?
April, yes. Well, we could have some showers. You never know. It's all up in the air. But the weather, let's take a look at the pictures from today because we've had some spectacular ones as well. First of all, Alison Treacher photographed the sunrise over Portsmouth Harbour this morning.
Yeah, Alison Hardesty captured the hazy conditions in East Hendred near Wantage in Oxfordshire.
And Craig Richardson sent us this shot of George cooling off in the river near Halton in Hampshire. So today we've had temperatures up to around 30 degrees, making it the 5th day consecutively this September with temperatures over 30 Celsius. Tomorrow we could make it 5. Let's take a look at the forecast over the next few days and into next week. It's set to turn cooler as we head into next week. So tomorrow, thunderstorms are a possibility for some, not for everyone. There will be some warm sunshine, feeling hot and humid once again. Satellite picture tonight showing clear skies in many places, some patchy cloud, particularly for western areas, and maybe 1 or 2 mist and fog patches during the early hours of the morning tomorrow. So overnight tonight there will be clear skies but also some patchy cloud, and it's going to be quite a humid and muggy night to come, quite uncomfortable for sleeping once again, with temperatures ranging between 15 and 16 degrees. But lots of sunshine on offer tomorrow morning. As the sun starts to rise, the temperatures will start to pick up as well, maybe up to around 30, even up to 33 Celsius. Tomorrow could potentially be the warmest day of this hot spell or this heat wave we've been having recently. Potential, as I said, up to around 33 Celsius, more likely through Berkshire, Buckinghamshire and also Surrey. Through tomorrow night, thunderstorms are a possibility, all because of that hot and humid air. So during the early hours of Sunday morning, but there's a potential for some thunderstorms with a low of 16 to 17 degrees. Very warm temperatures overnight tomorrow night. Sunday itself, well, the thunderstorms are a possibility. They're hit and miss. Some areas could stay dry altogether. There isn't a Met Office warning, but there is a Met Office thunderstorm warning in force for tomorrow, and highs on Sunday of around 29 Celsius. So there is a Met Office thunderstorm warning in parts of Berkshire, Buckinghamshire, Wiltshire and also Oxfordshire through the course of tomorrow afternoon from 2 p.m. in the afternoon until 9 p.m. in the evening. Why are we having this hot weather? Well, it's really quite warm over the near continent at the moment, over continental Europe. France have had some record-breaking temperatures, and we've seen temperatures reach a high of around 30 Celsius for 5 consecutive days. Lewis, it could be 6 if temperatures could get up to 30 tomorrow.
Well, let's hope so. I've got the shorts and the barbecue ready.
Thanks very much, guys. Enjoy the rest of your time there. And we'll be following that race. Sounds exciting, doesn't it? Now, she's one of the most famous crime writers of all time, with her novels of grisly murders on exotic trains and in glamorous, far-flung locations. But in real life, Agatha Christie was something of a mystery herself, because for more than 4 decades, she lived quietly in an Oxfordshire town with many neighbours never having a clue about her true identity. This weekend, a statue is being unveiled to remember her. Catherine Da Costa reports from Wallingford.
Like the intrigue from one of her novels, Agatha Christie's love affair with the market town of Wallingford was one of her best kept secrets. Agatha Christie made Wallingford her home. She lived here for more than 40 years, from 1934 until her death in 1976. But she was such a private person. Many here wouldn't have even known that the queen of crime writing was living in their midst.
It was special because it was a place that she and her second husband, who was an archaeologist called Max Mallowan, actually were able to have privacy to themselves. They were able to live a more normal life. In the town, she only introduced herself to people as Mrs. Mallowan. Not everybody knew that she was Agatha Christie.
I'm from the BBC. May I congratulate you on the record performance put up on the Mousetrap? Do you think it's the best play you've written? I don't know. Other people seem to at any rate. I was wondering why...
While Agatha may have shied away from the limelight, her work continues to draw in audiences around the world, with Kenneth Branagh currently reprising his movie role as Christie's famous Belgian sleuth, Hercule Poirot.
Come with me to a séance. Spot the con I can't. detective. You are here to discredit me.
More than 2 billion copies of her books have been published and read around the world, and they are translated into hundreds of different languages. She is incredibly well known, and people from all over the world come to visit her grave at Cholsey. They leave little gifts for her, little mementos, just to say how much they appreciated her writing.
Now, with permission from her family and the aid of an arts grant, the town's ready to celebrate its links to the novelist with a newly commissioned bronze statue.
Agatha Christie's is basically a generation to generation fantastic, iconic, wonderful thing, and there it was doing really nothing. So along came this project, and I think really we've had to grab it with both hands.
It's taken sculptor Ben Twiston Davies over a year to design and create this life-size statue called a monument to imagination.
I imagine that she's sitting in the park, and as we all might do, if you take 10 minutes to sit on a park bench and just relax from the kind of busyness of your day, your imagination wanders, and I think that she's having a moment of inspiration.
What do you think she would have made then of this bronze statue being unveiled in her memory?
She would have hated it, I think, actually, to be perfectly honest. This is the secret that's now out, that actually she was a resident in Wallingford for 42 years. This is where she lived, where she was an ordinary housewife and enjoyed having a family life here.
The finished work will be unveiled tomorrow at midday as part of a weekend of celebrations in memory of a local icon. Catherine Da Costa, BBC South Today.
Yeah, fascinating insight into the secret life of Agatha Christie there. Now, just before we go, time to mention one more weather story, because keepers at Cotswold Wildlife Park in Oxfordshire have been doing their best to keep the animals cool in the sweltering temperatures. The emus, Monty and Margot, were treated to a cool, gentle shower from the centre's gardener, Lisa. And the tamanduas, Ori and Titi, stuck their noses into some refreshing watermelon to help cool off. Meanwhile, other animals in the park got ice-snacked of berries, pears and carrots. Lucky things. Oh, they're cute, aren't they? Well, that is all from us this evening. And Jana Gadgil will have your late news this evening at 10:30. As ever, you can find more on the BBC News website. From all of us here, have a lovely evening and a great weekend. We'll leave you with some shots at Ocean Village.